Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another modern video. Today we are going to be playing with Kio's Mono White Angel Devotion deck list. Um, Before I get started here, I just wanted to say I had intended to post a Doomsday video today. That's going to have to happen next week. I needed to study up a little more before I was comfortable recording with the deck again, so that'll happen next week. Okay, so this was a higher tier donation deck list, so I ended up retooling this deck list a lot. Let's start by kind of talking about the deck designer's intention for the deck, and then I'll show you what I came up with. So the game plan was that they really wanted to have a mono-white devotion deck where Nykthos could power out some big dumb cards that you really shouldn't be able to play in Modern. Like, say, Ameria's Call, or Avacyn, or a Chroma. Some of these things that might normally be relegated just to, like, the EDH or the Commander table. We're going to try to put them into play in Modern. And their idea was to have a sort of pseudo-Angel tribal deck. I say pseudo because, like, this isn't a true tribal deck. The goal is, how do we power out some big dumb angels? How do we mostly be an angel tribal deck while also sticking to this devotion sub-theme? And so they had some things to support it, like a Weathered Wayfarer, like a Ruined Halo for 2 double white pips and a little bit of protection, and then some other removal spells like Quarantine Field and On Thin Ice that we're going to get to just like sit on the battlefield. Now, when I look at this deck list, I initially just saw something that I thought was just going to die before it got to do the thing too much of the time. And it'll make sense in a minute, like, sort of like what I'm going to change in order to make it so that we usually live longer. And if we kind of take a look at the sideboard here, there's some things that are fine because they add pips, but as far as their actual abilities themselves, they're kind of whatever. I think some of these things like 8.5 Tails and Grand Abolisher, while they're good on the mana pip count, aren't necessarily going to be super consistent. And I think there are some things here that kind of work against the deck. So for example, there's some Terminus in the sideboard, but we don't have any manipulation for them, and a decent amount of the time we're going to have things like Skyclave Apparition and Weathered Wayfarer sitting on the battlefield that we don't necessarily want to kill. And if we get a big dumb angel into play and then we have to Terminus away, it's ultimately sad. Similarly, there's a Boseiju here. I guess I need to pull this over for a second. There's a Boseiju here, but this is only used for instant sorcery spells when the vast majority of our win conditions are actually creatures. Now, you know, an uncounterable Ameria's Call is cool and all, but I don't think that's going to be super consistent. So ultimately, I saw a deck that I thought was just going to die before it got to the higher mana count. So I'm going to try to keep the theme of Mono White Devotion alive and keep the theme of winning with angels alive while trying to make it more competitive. And here's what I came up with, and I guess I should, kind of slide some of these things over. All right. Now note, I'm trying to keep a theme alive here, right? I am not necessarily trying to build the most optimal deck list. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be playing Mono White Devotion in the first place, right? Okay, cool. Glad everyone understands that. Okay, so I thought, well, it was kind of a process. So the first thing I did was I went, okay, what white cards can I play that will be better than Ruined Halo in game 1? Because I was just worried that, like, I was going to name wrong or it wasn't going to, like, quite do the thing that I wanted it to do. I wanted to have access to that card, but I didn't know that if it was the best thing to have in game 1. And so, like, my mind as someone who has played a lot of creature decks immediately went to Auriok Champion. And then I went, hey, you know what plays really well with White Devotion? Heliod. And it also plays well with Auriok Champion. And that kind of led me down this rabbit hole where I went, okay, what if there is a life gain sub-theme, and that's what's going to allow us to actually get to the point where we can cast some of these big dumb angels. So we have a small package of Soul Warden, Auriok Champion, 2 copies of Daxos, and 2 Heliods. And this, like, very much will look like one of the various historic life gain decks. And, like, I play that deck, so that's where I took my inspiration from. Now, one of the other things I wanted to do is I wanted to win with angels, but I wanted to lower the average CMC of the angels a little bit. So I am playing a full set of Restoration Angels, which will play well with Skyclave Apparition. It will also play well with like the Auriok Champions and the Soul Wardens. I also opted to put a Shalai in here, as sometimes just giving yourself hexproof will just randomly win you a game versus something like, say, Burn. Now, I wanted to keep the spirit of the deck intact, so I'm going to keep the Thalia's Lancers, and they let you search for a legendary card. And this can search for, a legendary land, can search for a certain god if we need them, or it can search for one of our big dumb angels. I've kept 2. I've kept the Bruna because the idea of making Brazella is very hilarious to me. Flying First Strike, Vigilance, Lifelink, 9/10. Your opponents can't cast spells with mana value 3 or less. That would be one on the bingo card. I've never done that. And I also decided to keep Avacyn because, Avacyn's a really iconic card, and I really enjoyed that set as a whole. Or, well, I enjoyed some of the themes and ideas and characters that came out of it, rather. Okay, now as far as the sideboard goes, I think in game 1, we're going to be pretty okay versus creature decks. So we have 8 1-mana removal spells. We have Soul Warden, Auriok Champion, and Daxos for life gains. Then we have Skyclave Apparition and a pair of Settle the Wreckage as sort of a sweeper. I think that's going to mean we're going to be okay versus creature decks. And if you take a look at the sideboard here, this is essentially just 15 cards for combo. And I wanted to have a good range of things that I could bring in to hit on various aspects of combo. Notably here, Leyline of Sanctity, which gives you hexproof, has 2 white pips in it. So it is rather good with Nykthos. I'm excited to see how this goes. Again, I don't expect it to be the most competitive thing in the world, but I think this is going to be a lot of fun. All right, that deck tech was a little long, so as usual, if you're a regular here, throw me a like. It's the easiest way to support my content for free. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. If you want to get one of your own decks on the channel, or you want to try this one out, that information is always available in the video description. Let's fight. Okay, my round 1 opening hand features a handful of lands as well as some decent removal here. I am good with this. All right, all right. We drew an 8-drop. We're good to go. All right, we're gonna take things slow here. Notably, Ameria itself is not a plains. Okay, so we're probably playing against some control deck. In which case my removal is, never mind. Yeah, we're good. I was about to say, in which case my removal might not be good in game 1, but it turns out we are playing against a Stoneblade deck. Yeah, we need Cauldron Complete not to hit play here. All right, so we'll just go ahead and enchant our Snowland here, remove that Stoneforge, and we'll stick Cauldron Complete in my opponent's hand at least for a little while. So just for anyone not overly familiar with this, this is the blue-white red Triome. Okay, cool. We good with Skyclaving that? Might convert that into a 3/3. I probably need to use my mana and just like keep my devotion count going if I want to actually get to this Avacyn. Yeah, I'll be good with that. I might give my opponent a 3/3, but like I'm gonna have a 4/4 Restoration Angel. That's not actually gonna be that big of a deal. I currently have 3 devotion. Restoration Angel will be 4 devotion. Is this the manland? No. Okay, that's fine. All right, so I'll crash in. All right, my opponent goes to 16, and I will just chill and play a Restoration Angel after my opponent casts a removal spell on this thing. Yep. All right. So yes, I will use this ability. Now, Skyclave Apparition's ability does read non-token. So I don't get to exile this. A rules note here, because I essentially fizzled, I effectively countered the stomp side. Bone Crusher Giant does not go to exile, so my opponent can't cast it. Ooh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Okay. Yeah, I'll take this 3 damage. Skyclave Apparition on a chump block is worth more elsewhere. Nice, nice. The next turn I'll have 4 devotion. We're getting actually pretty close to Avacyn. That, like, realistically might happen. Goodbye. And I'll bash in for 2. So next turn I have 6 mana. I don't believe that we're actually going to cast this 8/8 in, like, the first game I play with this deck. That's pretty sick. Might have spoken too soon. Oh, I wonder if I messed up. I wonder if I was supposed to play Nykthos and then activate another Nykthos. I wonder if that would have gotten me to 8 this turn. Also, it's interesting that my opponent is not playing Sword of Fire and Ice out here. I guess it plays into a Skyclave Apparition. Yep, fair. Alright, so I'll Skyclave and junk that. I guess I'll crash in. It's a little weird if this gets removed in combat. Okay. So from a Nykthos activation, next turn I will have 6 mana, so I do get to Avacyn. Yeah, that's fine. It's scary, but it's fine. Alright. It's a little weird. I think I'm supposed to take all of it this turn. Alright. I guess this is straight up free to play since it adds 1 devotion, right? Alright. We'll go 1, 2. That's 7 mana. This is 8 mana. I need to deal 2 damage this turn so that Avacyn can kill in the air next turn. We'll go ahead and attack with this and put my opponent to 8. I know my opponent has a Sword of Fire and Ice, which can get a little weird with this damage. Alright. So, it says trample. If I block for 3 here, I am not dead. I'm taking 4 damage. My opponent has a removal spell. This is awkward for me, huh? Yeah. But it has to be an exiling removal spell. Oh shit, the Sword of Fire and Ice trigger goes through because of the trample. Oh no! Yep, okay. Let's see. So I would have needed to also block here, and then my opponent would have been at 10 instead of 8. Yet. Yeah, Cauldra exiling specifically. Kind of a kick in the pants there. Play Ruined Halo here. I could also just play Archon of Emeria here reasonably, I think. So I've got 4 cards that I can think about bringing in. Sorry, I'm going to call this thing Ruined Halo forever. I forget that it's Ruined Halo. I'm going to go down these 2 for the Ruined Halo to make Cauldra less scary. I do kind of want these. I'm going to junk Daxos over them and call that good. It's possible I'm supposed to just like trim some of the fat at the top end instead. This is a pretty good hand if I draw 1 land, and absolutely unplayable if I don't. I think I'm just going to mulligan and try to find something a little more consistent. Yeah, this hand is much better. We're also going to accrue devotion quickly enough that... Oh shit, Ruined Halo is not going to do what I want to do, huh? The thing that is dealing me damage is not Cauldra, it's Germ, and I can't name Germ. Okay. This should be a Daxos. Alright. So, I haven't made this mistake. What am I doing? Do I commit to the bit? Do I just name Cauldra and hope my opponent doesn't know that? Because, like, I made that mistake at first glance. But I probably made that mistake because I'm a legacy player and Ruined Halo doesn't see any play in this format. Alright. My opponent have bolts. Maybe my opponent has Bolt. Yeah, and I can't name a token. I can't name, like, Illusion or Germ here. Okay. I do have a Settle the Wreckage, which lets me do some cool things. Don't think I'm going to need that in this turn cycle. Oh, but this does let me Restoration. No, it doesn't let me Restoration in this turn cycle. I'll get 3 Devotion. Yeah, then I'll just play this and not reveal that I have that yet. Get in there. Alright, my opponent's at 15. They shocked for something. Probably a Stomp. Yep. I guess Bone Crusher Giant was a card that I could have named with Ruin Halo based on the information that I had. Yep. Well, this is going to get the Cauldra. Doesn't answer it long term, though. But if my opponent's stuck on 2 lands, that's fine. Yep. Just pass the turn here. Alright, there's another land. My opponent doesn't attack with the Cauldra this turn. I can just play Restoration Angel as well. Yep, that's fine. Oh man, if they just attack in with that Stoneforge, it's so savage. Alright, they didn't. Alright. I get a critter end of turn. Ooh. This isn't creatures. It's not full-on Kismet. Could play Soul Warden, then Archon. Take a hit from my opponent's stuff. Yeah, I don't really hate that. Alright. The sooner this Archon is in play, the better for me. Yeah. This allows me to be threatening 5 in the air next turn and have my opponent on a 3-turn clock. Yeah, I think this is a time where I just need to use my life total as a resource. Things get a little awkward if my opponent has a sword here. Okay. My opponent had the basic land to enable that as well. So I'll take a lot of damage here, but I gain a little bit back from the Soul Warden. Alright, yep, I'll take 9. That's fine. My Settle the Wreckage next turn will just be Savage. Yeah, I'm gonna just bash in with both. I wonder if my opponent has any idea that I have Settle the Wreckage. Oh, fuck me. Oh my god. God, that's... Fuck. What an oddly specific answer to my bullshit. That means that I can't just, tap Nykthos to, return the Restoration Angel to play after my opponent bounces it. Yeah. Fuck. Alright, so I'm gonna take... Oh, I'm not gonna take 5 here. I'm only gonna take 4. Alright, yeah, my opponent doesn't want their Teferi to die. That's fair. Okay. Well, things get slowed down a bit. I'll play this Auriok Champion. I'll gain some life. This walls the Bone Crusher Giant. This buys me some time. And then, hopefully I can just get in with this Restoration Angel, kill Teferi, and things would settle the wreckage before my opponent finds this last land to equip this. Situation isn't exactly good. Yep. That's bad. We go down to 6 here. I'm gonna be dead to my opponent finding this last land. Oh my god. That's also just gonna be a Sword of Fire and Ice. Or the Batter Skull. Okay, I think we're done. My opponent having Teferi so that I couldn't settle the wreckage absolutely just decimated me here. But proof of concept for this deck was pretty good. This was a competitive match and we cast an 8-drop. That's a moral victory. Alright, I've kept kind of a opening hand for round 2 here. I have a Weathered Wayfarer on the draw, which will allow me to fish an extra land out of my deck. And I have an okay threat for the mid-game. The hand's not overly exciting. One thing I do need to be pretty careful about here is not playing my second land drop before activating Weathered Wayfarer. It seems like we're playing against Enchantress, and I don't really have a ton for them in a game 1 scenario. Even in post-sideboard games, I'll have some... Oh, we're not playing against Enchantress. We're playing against something a little closer to, say, Jund. Alright, so let's get my card advantage here and activate this. I already have a Nykthos. I don't need another. I think I'm fine picking up in a Maria the Sky Ruin, or if this game goes really long. And then we'll just take out that Scavenging Ooze, keep the board clear. I definitely won't mind just, making my land drops every turn. So the thing that's a little scary here is that if my opponent is playing, a red-green land destruction deck, they will get their Scavenging Ooze back when this land is destroyed. Okay. Bloodbraid Elf on turn 3 is pretty sexy. I respect the hell out of that. Pillage. Okay. Yep. Understood. Well, these Weathered Wayfarers are at least going to allow me to, continue to make my land drops in good news. But this is horrifying. I'm going to go to 17 here. I'm facing down 5 power. Do I need to just keep pulling lands out of my deck? Probably. Alright, so let's grab a land and then play the Soul Warden out. My opponent is pretty far ahead in terms of mana, and I don't think my Nykthos is going to catch me up because I think my opponent's likely to have some Lightning Bolt type cards. Okay. Yeah, that's scary. Something like a Settle the Wreckage would be very good for me here. Gisela is close to good, but it has 3 toughness, so it'll be vulnerable to Lightning Bolt-esque effects. Yeah. Losing that land, plus losing 1 Devotion Pip at the same time, was brutal. Alright, I am down to 13. And I'm facing down a crap ton of power. So thinking back now, I think last turn I needed to play the Weathered Wayfarer. No, that gets me one more devotion, but that doesn't get me to enough mana this turn either. Yeah, alright. Am I at the point where I need to leave this untapped? Guess I go for a double block on a Scavenging Ooze this turn and hope they don't have any removal. I can double block with these two and still pull a land out of my deck with this. Sure. Alright. I'll get my life here. Yield to that. I'll play this Emeria the Sky Ruin, which I don't think will ever be turned on here, because my opponent will just blow up my lands. But I don't want to play this Nykthos out before I'm ready to activate it. These scaling threats are spooky. Like, my On Thin Ice not being true removal here is pretty rough. Like, my opponent can keep just churning through these clues. And this Tireless Tracker is now going to outpace Gisela. I think I'm just going to be dead to this unless I draw something like a Path or a Settle the Wreckage. Yeah, that's horrifying. Am I going to take 10 damage? Or am I chump blocking and taking 5? I think I need to chump block. The situation isn't good for me, but like the more turns I can give myself to draw towards a Settle the Wreckage, the better. Notably, my opponent has 6 fucking cards in hand. So I feel pretty dead. I don't think this is a solid wall. And the bad news is, even if my opponent does, like, take some losses here and I do Settle the Wreckage them, like, they're still just going to have a fistful of cards. I'm not dead yet, but it's feeling bad. Okay, what's next? Oh, just more of that. Yikes. Okay, yep, that's fine. Okay. Arbor Elf plus Utopia Sprawl. That's a combo. Yep. Oh, everybody's coming in. So I have First Strike and Lifelink. I can take you out. And then I'll just do a chump block here, I guess. Yeah. With Weathered Wayfarer. Yeah, I think so. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not quite there. I might actually get there. I might live long enough to get there. Okay, so the next question is, like, is this Gisela attacking and guaranteeing the 4 life? No, I think I hold it back as a blocker so this Bloodbraid can't attack. Well, yeah, I think I do that. I would like none of my creatures to die in this turn cycle, because if none of my creatures die and I actually stick an Avacyn, I think I will win. Alright. I somehow haven't auto-yielded to these yet. I guess I've been tapped out for the last couple of turns, so I've probably just been F6'd. Alright. Yeah, that's bad. So that means Giselle is dead, so Avacyn is off the table for this next turn. This sort of thing was the reason... Oh. Really? Over this? Oh, okay. We're going harder. Okay. Sure. That's fine. Sure. I don't know quite why all of this is happening right now. Okay, so 3 devotion, so it would cost me 2 lands, that would make 3 mana. And I would have 6, 7 mana and be 1 short. I don't think I can take 10 damage and win. I think I do have to chump block here. But I'm not exactly sure what my path to victory is anymore. It's like my opponent has multiple large threats. A land isn't going to do it. Like, I can kill this, but then, like, die on the backswing, or I can pretend to stay alive for a couple more turns. Well, I guess I can play towards Settle the Wreckage very specifically. To do that, I have to chump block Tireless Tracker this turn. Yuck. I'll probably just lose to a Chandra Plussing anyway. Even if I do take out all of my opponent's creatures. Yeah. Sure. I'm pretty close to dead if these Arbor Elves attack, right? 6 from the Ooze, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, I'm not dead, but I will be dead to another Chandra Plus. Oh no, I would gain a couple life. I guess the good news is I don't know how many, like, Lightning Bolt effects my opponent actually has. Like, my opponent has looked at a lot of cards. Feel like if they had a bunch of those, they would have found one already. I think I'm on Settle the Wreckage or Bust. I'm gonna just take an absurd amount of damage in this turn cycle. Yeah, just ow. Okay, yeah. I mean, my block here is obligatory so that I don't die. All right, Settle the Wreckage. Not Settle the Wreckage. All right. Actually, I'm gonna play one more turn. If my opponent doesn't like just force in with everything and they make a conservative attack of some kind, I can just play Restoration Angel chump block and get another look at Settle the Wreckage. That's so many cards. Ugh. Okay. Got a Bloodbraid. Oh no. Like a Primeval Titan? What are we going for that's this much mana? No, just Tireless Tracker triggers. Okay. Alright, there was a Bloodbraid in all of that. I don't believe we're almost to the point where Emeria is on, just by the way. Lothus. Okay. Alright, so I now am at the point where I am dead to my opponent swinging everything in. Okay, and my opponent did do that. Alright, concede. Yeah, so Emeria would have been on if we weren't playing against a land destruction deck there. Okay, Ruined Halo can be a removal spell for one of their creatures. I think I'm okay with that. I don't hate Archon, because Archon is going to stop the Blood Braids. I think Rest in Peace is okay if, like, my opponent has, like, Klothys and Ooze, and I didn't see it, but it kind of feels like Tarmogoyf might be in there. I'm going to put that in a maybe pile, and we'll see how much stuff I actually want to take out. Okay. Am I going to play on Thin Ice against the Pillage deck? Does still seem kind of good, which is messed up. But it's going to, like, remove Arbor Elves and things that are going to ramp my opponent out early. I think I'm okay with that. Alright, I'm going to try to bring in 4 cards. I am a little unsure what to cut. I could see Daxos coming out, but it just has a big butt, which is nice for blocking things like Bloodbraid Elf. Auric Champions will also be a great blocker. Maybe just kind of like board out some of the mid-rangey stuff, like the Thalia's Lancers. Actually, maybe let's board out Bruna and Thalia's Lancers. That'll leave me with 3 very large dumb cards. Although, like, without Thalia's Lancers to tutor for this, that's a little slower. Unsure. I don't know. Maybe my Ruined Halo plan is bad, and I should just, like, keep one of these. Yeah, this is fine. Like, we have Heliod plus Auric Champion. That's a pretty sick combo. Path to Exile, not the best answer to a turn 1 mana dork, though, unfortunately. Okay. That didn't come up, though. Alright, so we're going to play Auric Champion now. And then I can start doing Heliod-based shenanigans. The Heliod will not enter as a creature and trigger Auric Champion. Just FYI. They don't have the devotion for it to answer as a creature. Lothus. Lothus is not currently active. There are no cards in graveyard currently. Are you a land? Probably a land most of the time. Alright. Gonna go ahead and do this. There's a world where I am supposed to hold Auric Champion back this turn to specifically block a Bloodbraid Elf if my opponent casts one. But in every scenario where they don't have exactly Bloodbraid Elf, I am not getting... Like, I am losing value by not taking the attack. Okay? I mean, that's fine. Ooh. I think getting rid of Klothys is good enough that I just want to do that immediately. Alright, just confirming this is 3 life. Yeah. I'll pay that life. Play Skyclave. And now we're going to get some triggers here. I'm going to go ahead and exile your Klothys. Then Heliod allows me to put a counter on Auric Champion. I am not going to attack with Auric Champion this turn. I want to play around Lightning Bolt. If my opponent Lightning Bolts this, gets this token, and then kills Auric Champion, my Heliod becomes so much worse. I'm just going to take 5 damage this turn instead of 7. I don't know modern deck lists well enough to, like, know for sure whether Lightning Bolt is something that I needed to play around there. Okay. No Lightning Bolt. Again, though, I think it's fine. Also, if I draw a Nykthos, I kind of will start going ham. All right. Okay. I've lost my devotion in the short term. Not actually all that big of a deal. Always yes this, always yield to that. That can go on Auriok Champion. I'll be able to attack in through this pretty easily. Okay. So, I'll play a Soul Warden. Now, that will turn on Auriok Champion. Or, sorry, that will let me do this. I think I'm just going to attack in. Yeah, I think I'm just going to attack in. The removal spells that my opponent have are going to be red. Okay. Now we can give this lifelink. Deal 4 to my opponent and just continue to spiral this jerk out of control. Alright. This is nice. And like the threat of Heliod becoming an indestructible creature itself is looming. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Do I start improving the Soul Warden? No, I don't think so. Let's just make this a one-shot kill. If we can. Because I'm gonna be able to like Path to Exile this stuff out of the way. And I can't think of how exactly my opponent will get the Auriok Champion out of play. Like, they have to kill it in combat damage with, like, green stuff. I don't really see that happening. Another Auriok Champion. Don't mind if I do. Alright, well, this kind of spiraled out of control pretty quickly. I'm gonna leave that at 7. I'm gonna grow this as well. Okay, this is 7, right? Yeah, this is 7. Alright, so I have 2 different 7/7s attacking in. And if my opponent goes for some sort of weird double block scenario, I have Path to Exile to bail me out. Okay, take 7. That's fine. My opponent is playing like they have outs, although I have no idea what that would be. Yeah. Alright, good stuff. So I'm still left with the question of like whether or not I want to play something like the Rest in Peace. On the draw, I think it's a little bit less likely that I'm actually going to get to put an Avacyn in play. I'm going to swap that for a Thalia's Lancers. And Thalia's Lancers will still tutor for like Shalai, Gisela, Heliod, Nykthos, in addition to just being a 4/4 first striker that's going to beat out things like Bloodbraid Elf. This is an unexciting opening hand that I think I am going to keep. It has a good mix of lands and spells. It has a Nykthos that I can use as bait. I do worry that like my opponent is just going to pillage me to death in this game, though, like being on the play. But I think my cards are fine, and I have plenty of good top decks. Yeah, that's solid. I can still get like pillaged and stuff here. Yup. Good, because my opponent can untap that immediately and still play a 3-drop. Yep. Alright, so I'll go ahead and make my activation here. Don't need another Nykthos, so we'll just grab a Plains. Then I will just play my tapped land now. My opponent is down to 2 cards in hand. If they don't actually have too much gas, I will just like eat Klothys and then actually be in a pretty good position to just take over the game with like Archon into Resto. That's a lot of flying power. So now I probably have to answer that instead of Klothys. Okay, there are lightning bolts, so I'm happy that I played around that earlier. Sure. Klothys is annoying, but Chandra is scarier. I don't really like the idea of my opponent getting a 4/4 token if they remove this, but I think this is pretty clearly where I need to be at. I also can just have, like, Restoration Angel, this Skyclave, use it to remove Klothys and give my opponent the 4/4 token. Not super good at beating the 4/4 token right now. But I've got gas and my opponent doesn't. I so wish it was a 3/3 token. And I can just ambush it with Restoration Angel. Okay, that's fine. My Nykthoses are off. I have a bunch of good mana. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and just hold up the ability to put in a Restoration Angel. Alright. This is a slow bleed here. Yeah. That's okay. I'm taking 4 here, going to 10. And I'm essentially going to take 6 damage per turn cycle until I can remove this. Probably going to have to involve blocking with 2 Restoration Angels. And then I'm going to need to, like, kill my opponent before Klothys defeats me. Alright. I think I want to just use my mana optimally and play out a Restoration Angel in this turn cycle. There's a world where I draw, like, one of my life-gain creatures, and then I can play it followed by Archon in the same turn. Alright. We'll go for the double block to kill this. And my opponent will have 3 damage a turn. They are also at 25 life because Klothys is gaining them life. Alright. I've absolutely got to get in the red zone here. They're down to 22. I have an Archon, which means I will take less damage from something like a Bloodbraid Elf. My opponent is too far away from Klothys Devotion for me to actually use Path to Exile to remove it. So my opponent is on a longer clock than I am on. I get 3 more turns before Klothys kills me, and I don't have too many ways to actually remove that. Is Ruined Halo currently in my sideboard? I think I boarded this out. Ugh. Like, I can remove this, but it's incredibly costly for me to do so. How do I win this game? I need to draw a Skyclave Apparition for Klothys. And I also probably need to trade with this via combat damage. I don't think I can use 2 life to remove that here. Well, that is an interesting card. Alright, am I attacking? Am I holding back? I don't want my opponent to top deck like a Chandra, and then like just like minus kill this, attack in, kill me next turn. I think I'm gonna hold up these spells. Sorry, hold up these blockers. But I'm now like very clearly on the plan where I just like have to remove Klothys or I am going to die. I think my opponent will be able to put enough cards into the graveyard to bleed me out. Where like I can't just like wait that out. Yep. Alright, I will go ahead and settle the wreckage this. A way of killing Bone Crusher Giant without otherwise messing with me. Alright. Skyclave Apparition. Lord. Well, that is kind of interesting, isn't it? Do I attack with both of these here? Deal 5 to my opponent. If my opponent attacks with Arbor Elf, I'll Path to Exile it. Otherwise, I'm just like bluffing Restoration Angel. Alright. This is a really weird game. Alright. I'm down to 2. And just die to a Lightning Bolt or equivalent here as well. Yeah, that is occurring. If my opponent attacks with this elf. Alright, they do. I'll path it. And now I have to draw Skyclave here. I do not believe I have any other outs. Yep, alright, that will not do it. GG's. Alright, round 3, I have kept my opening hand here. We've got a couple of different ways that we can play turn 1. We're playing against a Lurrus deck of some kind, maybe a burn deck. That is a Suspended Rift Bolt. If one of my creatures is going to die, I would prefer it to be the Weathered Wayfarer over the Soul Warden. So I'm going to go ahead and play Weathered Wayfarer on turn 1 and see if my opponent wants to remove it. Then my plan for turn 2 will be Soul Warden and tapped Amaria's, whatever the backside of this is called, Shattered Skyclave. Okay, that just went to my Dome. That's fine. Like, if my opponent is going to let me draw a card every turn for 1 white mana, I'm good with that. Oh, alright. Very aggressive. Okay. Definitely spooky. I could play Soul Warden and Path to Exile my Weathered Wayfarer. Or my Soul Warden if my opponent tries to remove it. And then ramp into playing Gisela the next turn. It's so awkward that I have a shock land here. Maybe that's too awkward. I'll play that tapped. And just play my Soul Warden. Soul Warden might be threatening enough that my opponent will use a burn spell on it. This is gonna be tight. My like 8 drops and stuff are just like going to totally not be viable in this matchup, unfortunately. Although my top end of things like Gisela and Restoration Angel will be pretty good. Okay, that's rough. Alright. So, guess I am just holding up a Path to Exile in this turn cycle. And take like an Emeria here and just play it tapped. I'll never have to deal with that in the future. I'm good with that. I can play on Thin Ice for Devotion and have fetched Nykthos instead. I think I'm good with the line I took. Like, I don't want to waste an on Thin Ice against a Luris deck. Yep. Alright, is your last card a Lightning Bolt also? Oh, it is not. Nice. I will need to dodge for one turn. I attack with this. Because in theory, I should already be good against, like, a Goblin Guide. Because I'll have a 4-3. If my opponent has, like, a Path to Exile plus a Haste creature, that'll do me in. But all the Lightning Bolt type cards are just going to kill me, and my opponent has the mana to hardcast them. Holy shit! Nice. Alright, is it working? Nice. We're probably good from here. I'm back up to 6. I have Restoration Angel. My clock is incredibly fast. Yeah, sure. So my opponent didn't put Luris in their hand last turn. They shocked. Why? I'm so confused. This is a non-angel, and this is an angel. Okay. That's fine. I still just have my opponent on a 2-turn clock. That's not bad. Oh no. Oh no, I do. 4 plus 7, 11. No, I'm not crazy. Well, I mean, like, I might be crazy, but my math checked out. Alright, so my opponent's at 6. Yes. Does the last card go to face? I don't think it does. Oh, man. Oh, I don't believe we won that one. Okay. I would like Canonist. I would like Runed Halo. I would really like Leylines. I would like Archon. I probably won't play Deafening Silence. Basically, anything above DMC 4 is coming out of the deck. I don't think I need Settle the Wreckage. I think like Pinpoint Spot Removal is more important. I'm also going to want to board in like 10 cards. I have 5 ways to get Hexproof here. Now, I didn't see creatures. I am assuming that they are in the deck, and I just did not see them. Oh, sorry, I need to board Bruna out. I missed Bruna. I am counting these as a land, not as a spell for the purposes of this. Maybe Runed Halo is not good enough. I'll probably board Weathered Wayfarers out, and if I don't board in Runed Halo, because it would be kind of like, a lot of times I'd be pointing that at a burn spell, and I'd like have to pick one that they haven't cast yet. Maybe this is just what I'm going for. I think if I get a like respectable leyline opener in one of these 2 games, I will take down this match. Hello. This is a keep. Double Auriok champion. Yes. I am so good with this. Okay. Alright, they just wanted to play things in second main phase to be edgy. That's fine. Alright. So that's gonna enter tapped. And I have my plays for my next 3 turns plotted out, unless something incredibly threatening happens where I feel like I have to play on Thin Ice. Something like an Eidolon, for example, would be worth playing on Thin Ice over Auriok Champion. Okay, yep, alright. This, though, this is not threatening, right? Because, like, I'm just going to block that. Ooh, especially if my... Well, kind of a blessing that my opponent clicked through their combat. We take those. Yeah, next turn I have Auriok Champion plus on Thin Ice. Yeah, this is looking good for me. My opponent only has 1 land. Yeah. Sorry, not sorry. And this is what these are here for, right? Oh, I need to always yes to that as well. Alright, so we'll get that out of the way. Crash in. And Restoration Angel is going to gain me a lot of life. Restoration Angel gains me 2 life on it entering the battlefield. Yeah, that's fine. That's, yeah, yep. I mean, this is why I put these in the deck, right? Like, I needed something to let me live to my big dumb BS. And these let me live. Alright, I've kept my opening hand here. I have Weathered Wayfarer into a Source of Life Gain. Or I can just like Weathered Wayfarer and use that to continuously hit my land drops so that I can, you know, work towards these big dumb angels. Okay. We'll do a little love tap. Weathered Wayfarer is a little sexier on the draw than on the play. I think on the empty board I value Daxos's increased point of power more than Auriok Champion's ability to just be stickier. Oh, that was actually good enough to get a response, or is this my opponent just doing a tapped land? It's my opponent just doing a tapped land. Sure. Okay. Not sure what sort of Esper decks are really running around right now. Do I want to play Auriok Champion main phase 1? So that if something happens to this in combat, I gain the life? Probably. Just also, like, increases Daxos's toughness. I don't know what deck to be expecting from my opponent here. Like, I don't know what sort of Esper deck would be popular right now. Ah, graveyard shenanigans, so maybe persist. Alright, well, we've got rest in peace for the post-sideboard games. This thing getting into play would be quite bad for me. I'll have 8 outs to it. The Mystic Gate. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. Oh, that was going to be my Nykthos. Eh. Yeah, I will use Auriok Champion's ability. Alright. Bye, Daxos. Resist is your only your graveyard, right? Yeah. Alright. That is not an out. This thing is pro-black, though, so I can crash in. That puts my opponent to 19. I am going to play Skyclave Apparition purely as something that increases my devotion count and gives me 1 life. That is not what I want to be doing with this card, but I think it is what I'm doing with this card. It lets me keep the Auriok Champion alive for if I do top deck a Path to Exile or Alright, never mind. Fuck. Fuck. Alright, I think I'll probably do some of this sort of stuff. Archon of Cruelty make you sacrifice enchantments too? Or is it it's creature or planeswalker? I'm gonna check this real quick. Sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Okay. This is probably a time where I play the Ruined Halo. I'll probably also play the Archon. Alright. And I think we have to cut these big things again. Like, we're playing against a combo deck. We're not playing against something mid-rangey or control-y where I can realistically get to this stuff. I'm gonna try to win with this smaller stuff. How good is Thalia's Lancers still? Probably too slow. And I want to sideboard in a lot of Hate Bear type stuff. Probably too slow. I think the Weathered Wayfarers will go. Do I keep Settle the Wreckage as another out to those things once they're in play? I don't think so. I'm going to have 8 outs already. And I think I need to just keep most of my stuff that's playing to the board. I'm going to remove 1 Skyclave Apparition here. I don't think they're going to be super fantastic. Okay, so this hand is not really good at killing my opponent, but I'm going to shut down like the Faithful, Mending, Persist aspect of my opponent's deck and make them play a fair game. And I think a lot of times I'll win the fair fight. Alright, get on in there. Gain us a bunch of life when my opponent plays a Lingering Souls or something. Okay. This could be like a Consider or a Path to Exile or something. Sure. I'll hit for 1. Opponent's at 17. And we'll shut off the graveyard. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. They liked whatever they saw. I can work towards a meaningful devotion count, but I just have no gas currently. Alright. Fine. Not good for me, because like it obviously was like my layer of protection, and also fucking lol. Alright. Gotta use my mana somehow. Alright. I still think my opponent's probably favored here. I assume that they have other ways like Lingering Souls and Planeswalkers and stuff to win the game. Like, this is not a real clock. Sure. I'll hit for 1. I don't know what I would name with Ruined Halo other than Archon of Cruelty right now. I'm just going to name Archon of Cruelty. Like, because that's still hard castable at some point in the game. And my opponent is currently on a 15-turn clock. We might be getting counterspelled here. I mean, that's fine. Like, we're still trading 1 for 1. Sure. So they could find, like, Prismatic Ending plus their combo, or they could just, like, find, you know, a Teferi caliber card and use that to smack me around. Sure. This little Soul Warden, that good. This is a time where I wish I had, like, some sort of companion. Just, like, pull out of my sideboard and say, like, hello, I am playing the janky Angel deck. I deserve 1 bonus card. We'll play this in main phase 1 on the off chance that this Soul Warden is removed in combat. But that hasn't been happening so far. Okay. Now I have a realistic clock. Now my opponent is on a 3-turn clock instead of an 8-turn clock. Okay, Archon is great. Again, I will go ahead and continue. You know what? You know what? Because we can, I shall play the Archon. Although playing the Archon pre-combat is weird because it means I can't path in combat, but it like guarantees the life gain. This is lethal next turn. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we're about where I want to be. I could consider cutting Skyclave Apparition for like Weathered Wayfarer when I'm on the draw, because I haven't seen anything like a Planeswalker or like really any permanents. There's gotta be something, right? Like they can't just be all in on that as a win condition. Could also play like Thalia's Lancers over it to just give me another win condition. But I think I'm good with this. Alright, hand has Rest in Peace. That's a keep. Alright, my opponent mulliganed to 6, just FYI. Okay, I am just gonna play the tapped Emeria here. Because, like, that land has to enter tapped 100% of the time. Whereas with Emeria's Call, I do have the possibility of... Are you fucking kidding me? Like, the Archon just happened to be the top card of their library. I'm going to be somewhat upset if they just, like, persist it here. Yeah. I'm gonna just get rid of my threat here and keep more answers. I think I want to give them a land rather than give them a prismatic ending target for this first Archon. And then I will play my 20-turn clock. Now after this I can play like Rest in Peace and Ruined Halo and start to like build up a real set of defensive options. Yeah, that's fine. The reason why we kept Skyclaves around. Sure. My turn as of right now is going to be Rest in Peace plus Soul Warden. Let's play this. Go and Rest in Peace and nuke the graveyards. And play my threat. This thing could take like Soul Warden's full attention, or I could just continue to attack my opponent and just like kill this when I have a more meaningfully sized creature. I don't know. If I keep this from ticking up, then they can't use it to like bounce Rest in Peace or my other cards. Not sure which way I'm supposed to do that. I'll poke the Teferi. Alright. So I have like many different layers of protection versus an Archon. Now I need to find a way to win the game. This is the point where like my 4-mana Angels and stuff are going to start to become good. Although I will just have to play them at sorcery speed. Nothing to be done about that. Alright. Kind of have lucked out. Opponent seems to be flooding out a bit. Alright, yeah, plus away. Okay. Again, I have to play that at sorcery speed. I'm just going to continue to poke the Teferi. I kind of expect this to get counterspelled. Alright, it didn't get counterspelled. Okay, so opponent is just doing this into Rest in Peace. So this is pure card selection here. I am somewhat surprised that this didn't just happen in response to the Restoration Angel, because that allows you to find a counterspell. But maybe they have, you know, a sweeper or something that's going to answer both my creatures instead. I don't think I've seen a 4th color of mana so far. So I think my Restoration Angel is safe from Prismatic Ending. Back one just went to exile. Archon just went to exile. Nice. So there's 2 of those in exile now. Opponent is hitting the land drops. Okay. That's not bad. Sure. Okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and waste a point of damage and send both creatures at Teferi. Path to Exile is a card that like very reasonably could be in my opponent's deck. And if my Restoration Angel gets pathed, I still want to do the 1 point of damage to Teferi. Okay. So if my opponent gets an Archon, I just discard the On Thin Ice and then cast the other On Thin Ice to get it out of the way, and I'm still totally fine. Okay. So if my Restoration... Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't see my opponent cast this Fatal Push. Yeah, that's a little rough. I still get to answer this, but then my opponent will like Teferi bounce. That's not the best for me. That's a very rough sequence of 3 cards for my opponent to have. Well, this is brutal. I hate this. This exiles the Archon, and then my opponent will bounce this On Thin Ice back to my hand. I guess I need to not play the Restoration Angel so that I can discard the Restoration Angel and then replay the On Thin Ice. Fuck. But otherwise, if I play out the Restoration Angel, the On Thin Ice gets bounced back to my hand. Archon comes into play, and I lose both Restoration Angel and On Thin Ice instead of just one of them. Yeah. Okay. So this will find the final copy of the Archon. Yep. Yeah. Oh my god, Unburial Rites. Fuck me. Honestly, I feel like we got a little unlucky here. That was such a savage string of draws. Yeah, and like this attacks and... Yeah. Fuck. Alright. GG's. I did not think we were losing that one. I'm on the draw here in the last round with a hand that is mediocre. I think I'm going to go ahead and keep it. I've got a couple draws to get some extra lands, and I have 2 early plays. Alright. Oh, we're probably playing against a combo deck yet again. Rip the expensive cards in our deck. Don't think we're going to be particularly good against a Living End strategy in game 1 here. Good Mise with our Instant Speed Sweeper card. The name is totally escaping me right now. Alright. Play the Idiot. Attempt to make it to the mid game. My Skyclaves are not going to be particularly great here. Like, a lot of the things that my opponent potentially can bring back are just going to be larger than the MC4. I mean, some of the stuff is, but there's going to be things like the whales and street wraiths and stuff that this isn't going to answer. Yeah. Okay, I mean, that's another thing that Skyclave can answer. So if I draw a land next turn, there is actually a question of like whether or not I even play this Skyclave or whether or not I try to save him until after a Living End. I don't think my opponent's even ready to Living End yet, though. Just honestly. I think I'm playing this. Every turn that I stay alive, the turn for me to try and draw out of this. Missed out on land drops on my first 3 draws. And my opponent is playing a relatively fast combo deck. Not a good place to be for me. Okay, let's see if there's more things cycled. Oh, there's not. Interesting. That probably means that my opponent has a bunch of ways to actually cast the Living End. Like, they probably have a bunch of, like, Shardless Agents and stuff in hand. Yeah. Okay. In good news, if I hit my land drops, I don't actually think I'm that bad off. It's like, I'll go land, Skyclave, remove probably the 4/4, and then my opponent's not that far ahead anymore. Alright. We are now 4 turns without a land drop, though. I think I get to miss a land drop 1 more time before this has probably slipped too far. I take 9 of this turn. Alright. That land doesn't really do anything. Although my opponent can start like hard casting things like a Curator. Like that's definitely something that could occur. I'm down to 14. Okay, there's a land. That doesn't solve everything, but like it means we're playing Magic. I'll remove the flyer here. Would Skyclave block Grief right now? No, because the 4/4 is currently problematic. So I'm going to go ahead and take an attack in here. And then I need to hit 1 land drop. Then I can play Shalai, then I can have Thalia's Lancer. Ah, fuck. That's bad. That's a 4/4 into Brazen Borrower. Yeah. That's a dead fill. Not literally that turn, but the following turn. Deafening Silence sometimes does stuff, so it does stuff versus Violent Outburst, but not Shardless Agent. Regardless, I'll probably play those things. I'll probably play the Archon as well. That means I'm going to have 9 cards that I want to board in. I hate that we keep playing against fast decks. Like, I want a Dirtle so that I can actually try to get this stuff into play. I'm glad we put the Avacyn into play in round 1, though. I might keep Thalia's Lancers. Kind of see where I am at with fitting all of these in. I think Weathered Wayfarer isn't going to do much here. Nykthos' stupid high toughness might be relevant. I think I need to cut the Thalia's Lancers. I think Aurioc's Champion, or I think Aurioc's Champion is more valuable than Daxos. And then I need to cut one more card. Probably needs to be like the Shalai. How is this? This is a mediocre hand that doesn't actually do anything to stop the living end. I think I need to mulligan to something that might stop living end. Yeah. This hand is good. I will just throw a land back into the deck. I can just safely play this tapped on turn 1 and then, like, never draw it the rest of the game. I'm good with that. Okay. Goodbye, rest in peace. I'll still have Aethersworn Canonist as a mediocre hate card. Yup. Oh! Oh, my insides hurt. What a... Oh, my God. Just gotten fucking bullied. Gotten bullied, YouTube. Settle the Wreckage is not actually a good draw. Because if my opponent casts a Living End, they return 2 Griefs to play, and it just fuck my Settle the Wreckage. Thought we were already playing around discard. Turns out I was fucking wrong. Alright. No Spirit Guide or anything to do things faster. Hit for 1. Again, where is my companion? Alright, there's the Whale. So the Whale looks at the top 2 cards, and you put 1 into hand and 1 into graveyard. That's another Whale. I am going to be dead in a single turn to a Living End. Because these are 7s, so that's literal 20 power from a Living End. Yeah. At least I can cast a Path to Exile. But wait, there's more. So this will return my Aethersworn Canonist to play. And now I can Path to Exile one of these Whales. Because... Oh no, I fucked up. I was supposed to Path to Exile my own Aethersworn Canonist so that I could play towards a new Settle the Wreckage as an out. I think that's better than trying to, like, actually kill all those creatures. Yep. That's on me. Draw the Settle Wreckage for humor? Nope. Do I have any outs to this? Take 9. Yeah, I'm still technically drawing live. Barely. So I have to draw land followed by Settle the Wreckage, I think. I'm going to trade with Shardless Agent this turn. And take 9. Oh wait, no, that doesn't work, does it? Oh no, it does work. I'm at 20. 2 life to work with. So I'm at 11. Hello? That's the first part. Right. There's the fetch to thin the deck. I will die to something like a Brazen Borrower coming in. Looks like I've dodged that bullet. Double grief was brutal though. Alright, that is exactly 11. Opponent got rewarded for not attacking in with their Shardless Agent. So that puts us at the end of the league at a record of 1-4. Overall thoughts on the deck list? Medium. Like, the deck list is not horrible. Like, I'm trying to adhere to a theme, and, like, it's pretty clear that the like 7 and 8 drops are not super viable in Modern. Like, the 4 drops that I put in, like those 4-drop Angels, the Restoration Angels, Shalais, Gisellas, those felt great. But it was pretty hard to realistically get to the amount of mana and devotion needed to do this stuff. I think I put together something that bridged the gap to the late game pretty well. I think this life gain package like supplemented the Skyclave apparitions that were already there and like bought us the time we needed to get to the late game. But for the games that I was winning them with the 4-mana Restoration Angels that I added, not with like the Thalia's Lancers and the big dumb things. And the one game that I did put an 8-drop into play, I still lost anyway, right? So if you want to do something similar to this, but like you don't have the like I want to be playing with Angels restrictions, consider just throwing in a Stoneforge Mystic package. Like you could cut, for example, like Bruna, Avacyn, Thalia's Lancers, X2, and then play like cut one other card at random from here, like a Daxos or a Settle the Record or something, and play like 4 Stoneforges and a Cauldra or something like that, and give yourself another or like way to get through the early game. And that could like realistically be a way that you could still try to like do some of this devotion-y stuff. Or you could lean heavier into like the Heliod aspect of the deck, play 4 Heliods, play a playset of Walking Ballista, like get rid of some of these things too. 2 more Heliods, 4 Walking Ballistas. Now all of a sudden you have an infinite combo. You can start thinking about some things like is it I forget if it's Night Captain of Eos or Ranger of Eos that like will do tutoring for some of your smaller things. Like there's options there. As far as the sideboard goes, I did really like the sideboard for this deck. I felt like I think I did board in everything that I had here. I feel like if you do want to play some sort of like angel tribal adjacent thing, devotion thing, like your sideboard does need to be geared towards beating the combo decks. I guess if like Living End is something specifically that's popular, you could also consider something like a Chalice of the Void. Putting that on 0 doesn't harm you at all and gives you more ways to just stop the Living End. Yeah, but despite the fact that we got bullied, this was a fun league. I enjoyed playing this a lot. Anyway, if you made it all the way to the end, please throw me a like before you leave. It's the easiest way to support my content for free. Have a great rest of the day. More information's available in the video description if you want to get one of your own things on stream or mess around with this deck. See ya. Oh wait, one more thing. You can probably cut the American the Sky Rune and just play another Plains. That's probably fine too. All right, actually, bye now.